Hey guys, Raisin Bran here. Today we're going to be starting a video series covering all the characters and in-depth explanations and like a mini guide on them. If you know any part particularly you're looking for in regards to the character, please check the description. I'll have timestamps below so you can easily navigate through any part that might seem relevant to the character, or if you're just looking for a specific piece. So to start this all off, we're going to start with Pride Lucifer. So right off the bat, we're going to come into the Soulpedia and come into the initial stats. So at base, +1 after you get one dupe, one book, whatever you get into her, she's going to deal 110% attack as damage 2 times and inflict fracture on the enemy for 2 turns. Now, she's also, before this attack, going to grant herself Keen. Keen is going to allow you to, later on in the build portion, not have to worry about as much crit rate. And Fracture is going to help in all content in the game. Reducing the attack means you're taking less damage, means more survivability, and if you need it, more turns. Now, her S2 is going to deal 210% attack as damage and inflict injured on the target. After that, it's going to stun the enemy with the highest speed. This is going to be very useful for not only PvP but PvE, because you're going to lock down those pesky enemies that can cause you problems. And then the injured effect is going to prevent healing. Now, mind you, there's certain areas injured doesn't take effect because it's a debuff for healing, not a gain this much as just a flat stat. That's how they're going to do it. Now, her ultimate, which you get at +1, is going to deal 270% attack as damage and increase the skill cooldown of the target by 1. After an attack, it extends her passive Fear Nothing's effect for up 2 more turns. This is her bread and butter here when you're trying to cycle through the passive. The skill cooldown increase of the target by 1 is good, but for the most part, I would say the best part of this is the fact you're extending her passive. Because the passive, Fear Nothing, is after an attack, she's going to follow up on an enemy with the highest HP by 180% of her attack 2 times, and she's going to restore 15% of her max HP. Now, keep in mind that restoration can crit, which means you could restore 15% and then multiplied by whatever your crit damage is. On to the second part, Fallen Angel Arms. When a battle starts, increase the caster speed by 30% for 2 turns and open a 7,000 shield. Now, this is very good for not even really PvE, because usually you're going first with this, which is going to help. But this helps a lot in PvP too, helping you outspeed the enemies that can really pose a threat and getting off the stun with your S2 right as the battle starts. Now, we're not going to be at the exact max yet. We're going to go off the level 15, or +15 really, because +21 is the max. But at +15, the S1 is going to do the same exact thing. You're going to get that fracture for 2 turns, and you're going to get the Keen buff still. Her S2 is still going to inflict this, attack as damage and stun the targets. Her S3. The biggest difference at +15 is you're going to get that her passive is then going to increase by 3 turns, which means you almost have a permanent uptime. It is a permanent uptime using certain units in a team comp, but you'll have a near perfect uptime on her Fear Nothing passive, which means you're always getting those follow-ups and always getting those heals, which is going to keep you alive. And then her passive at +15, this 30% is going to go to 40, and you're going to start getting a 10,000 shield at the start of battle. Now that 10,000 shield is going to help you become more beefy and not have to have as much HP. And that 40% speed is going to allow you to spec more into attack rather than speed, because you're still going to outspeed most enemies by having that 40%. And this is going to help you clear almost, if not all, PvE content within the first few waves, because on her S1 at +15, you'll start to hit 2 targets. That means you're going to have 3 on the S2, 2 on the S1, and I believe it is, 3 on the S3 also. So therefore, you're wave clearing. So she's going to help you meet all those mission requirements for time or for turns. So you're not going to have to, it's going to take a lot of the stress off the rest of your team. You'll be able to play more around a playstyle that you might want to really find your way into. Now, at the very top of it all, the plus 21, mind you, this is going to take most people a very quite while to reach. You're going to deal 160% attack damages 2 times and inflict fracture UL this time on the target for 2 turns. And before the action, she's going to still grant herself Keen. Now, Fracture UL is the biggest version of this, which is going to decrease the enemy's attack by 50%. That is absolutely phenomenal. You're going to increase your survivability rates, not only in PvP, in your campaign, in your daily dungeons you run, but also your guild raid, because you're going to be decreasing their attack by 50%, which is going to help you keep your team alive, and especially those units that may not have the most defense, or might even be a day where it's type disadvantage. Now, her S2 at this is going to deal 360% attack as damage, and it's going to inflict injured and block heal on the target along with stunning them this time. Now, what's good about injured and block heal being stacked is block heal is only for 1 turn. So keep that in mind, that you're only preventing the healing 1 turn. And then she has one of the, I think she does have, if not the highest injured effect she can apply, which is healing received minus 80%. Now, no matter what, they can still heal. Injured can never go above 100% because they're always going to be able to heal unless you have that block heal effect on them. So these actually pair really well together. Now, her ultimate at plus 21 is going to deal 470% attack as damage, inflict stun, and increase the skill cooldown of the target by 1. And after the attack, she's going to extend her Fear Nothing by 3 turns. Now, the big difference between this and all the other ones is you're also getting that stun in there. So not only can she stun in her S2 to the enemy with the highest speed, she's now going to stun the target of this attack, which is going to help lock down the enemies even more. And mind you, the cool time to get this, you'll usually see your Lucy do an S2, S1, and then the ultimate. And that's going to keep the passive up. And with the cooldown now being 3 turns, she can keep the cycle up herself, continuously going. Her passive, she's still doing those 2 hits and restoring 15% HP, but at max 21, there's a little on the way there, you're going to get a speed by up to 50% and a 25,000 shield. At this point, you don't have to worry about trying to put any really HP on Lucy. I still recommend you do, but you don't have to worry about it because that 25,000 shield is going to keep her alive pretty well. Now, it will fade away after 2 turns, so if, she's not gone in 2 turns or you haven't won the match, then you're going to be dealing with just her base health pool. But that speed right off the bat is, there's not very many units that can compare to that, so she's going to be able to outspeed almost every unit in the game. There are some niche cases where some other people will outspeed her, but be prepared for your Lucy to be one of the fastest characters in the game for yourself. Now, we have to go back here because Lucifer does have Consonance. Now, her Consonance, what it does is after the turn, if there are 3 or more allies alive, still alive, she increases one random ally's move gauge by 35%. And what makes this so good for her is because she's already supplying that speed buff to herself, she's going to go first in almost all cases. And then she's going to apply a move gauge up 35%. The downside is you have no control over who gets this move gauge up. If you could, that could open up so many more compositions, but it doesn't. Now, with this, you're going to hope it hits someone else, that your next person in line to probably apply some debuffs so your other people can follow up, and then your Lucy should already be, for the most part, almost lapping, so she can, hit again and finish off whoever she hit the first time. Now, the notable skill level milestones I would say for Lucy on her way up is +5, because this is the first milestone, because it's going to allow her to get her ultimate faster. It's going to reduce the CT down, so you can actually start the chain of getting your passive Fear Nothing in a continuous state. The next one would be +15, because at +15, we're going to go back here to the Soulpedia, click Lucifer, click Initial Stats, click this. Come down and you'll notice at +15 is when she's going to get that attack range +1, which is going to make this go from 1 range to 2, which is going to help you in a lot of content clearing because she's going to S2 on wave 1, wipe the board, follow up with her passive, anyone's remaining, and then go wave 2, she's going to S1. And by S1ing that turn, she's going to not only take care of the 2 she's going to hit with her S1, but she's going to follow up with Fear Nothing again and finish off a 3rd. So most times there's only 3 or 4 enemies so on the second wave. So by that point, your next person in line should be able to clean up whatever she doesn't take care of. And I would say after this one would be the plus 19 effect, because you're getting that final increase here of that plus 5% to the speed. So this at plus 19 is going to put you at that 50% speed boost. So whenever you start that battle, you should be faster than almost everyone else, even with minor input to speed stat through shards and everything else. And then the last one I would say is your plus 20 and your plus 21. These are good. These are where the good debuffs will kick in for her to allow her to actually do a more team-oriented thing, I would say, because Fracture is going to help the team out more than just herself, and Block Heal is going to help the team out because units like, let's say, Belial, who get healed upon getting hit, if your unit isn't hitting her very hard, but it hits, like one of your off units, let's say a Chino, hits a Belial, she's going to heal, and Chino's going to do barely any damage because Belial's going to heal through all of it. This is going to prevent that from happening on the block heal, so you don't have to worry about your little guys hitting them and then just watching her go back to full health, which can be devastating. Now, in reference to builds with Lucy, I personally have my own, but if you're plus 18 and below, and you're under or equal to 27 karma, I would just go with speed crit because it's going to allow you to keep your speed going up higher in order to get, because you don't have that 50% yet, and it's going to help keep you competitively viable, not only in arena, but make sure that no matter what happens, you're always going first in all PvE content. Once you're at 28 karma and above, and plus 18 and below, I would say you can switch over at that point to attack crit damage, because at this point you have the crit rate from the karma rank up, because if you didn't know, at 28 you get this crit increase, which with this mixed with her S1 is enough to, I would say, to finally switch from speed to attack, because you're getting enough bonuses from that. Now at plus 19 and above, that changes things, because you can be a little bit lower on the karma rank. So if we look here at 23, you're getting that 275 speed increase, right? So with that 275 speed increase, you can run no longer speed and crit. At that point, at 23 and above, you can run attack crit if you want. And then once you get to karma 28, I would say switch over to the attack CDI, or if you want, you can do like I'm doing, and I'm going, as you can see, 2 crit sets and 1 crit rate, so crit damage and 1 crit rate set. That helps me keep the bonuses up enough in order to make sure that we're actually getting the damage off. Mixed with her passive. So the 38% I'm getting from these, mixed with the S1 passive, puts me at 38 plus 35 is 73. Yes, 73%. So I really, for the most part, should, as long as I'm doing my S1, have a fairly good chance to crit because of the 2 hits. Because remember, each hit individually can crit. Now, when we're talking actually before we do that, let's go into the last thing, which is soul mirrors here. Soul mirrors, I would recommend you get all attack with crit damage or crit rate on the right side, and all attack with crit rate or crit damage on the left side. If you get speed as a substat, that's great. Most part, I recommend as a free-to-play player, take whatever mirrors you get that are purple and upgrade them. Worry about later down the road trying to min-max your mirrors. Even I don't have min-maxed mirrors. I have 1 attack, 2 attack, and 1 defense. These aren't, of course, the best, but I don't mind because, hey, Lucy's amazing and she's still hitting really hard here. But in reference to trying to talk about teams, units that could work in a team very well with her, first unit I think that I'm going to go with, we're going to go back to the Soulpedia, would be Metatron. Now, Metatron is very good because her S2 allows easy pairing with the fact Lucifer, right? So what she does is before the action, she's going to remove injured and deterioration from all allies, and if the target's affected by injured, she's going to additionally damage them by 25% of her max HP. What makes that so good with Lucifer? Well, right off the bat with your S2, you're applying injured, which is going to cause them, of course, to have reduced healing, so Meta is going to get her S2 extra effect. Also, not to mention, this passive over here is going to give your Lucy, if she's your highest attack unit, that CC immunity, which means units like Beelzebub and them aren't going to be able to automatically taunt her off the bat. You're not going to be able to get automatically frozen when you're facing a fellow Xmas Lucy. You're not going to automatically get stunned from a Michael. Things like this can really save you when it comes to battle. Now, the next unit I would say is just an automatic pairing with her is Summer Lucifer. Summer Lucifer is a really good pairing for her, not because of the S1, the S2, or even the S3, I would say. It's really in the passive here. The passive, as long as you have OG Lucifer, Pride Lucy, you're going to get this buff on your team, and then she's going to recognize that buff, and every turn Summer Lucifer gets, she's going to increase her attack, final damage up by 10%, and it's going to stack up to 5 times. So also she'll remove the all damage reduction from the enemy. So these two things together really helping guild raids early on if you pair them both together, really built together. Next, of course, Envy Leviathan. Big bonus to the passive here because you're going to get that % speed increase and you're going to lower the enemies. So this allows your Lucifer to even have less speed built into her kit, and still, no matter what she does, she's going first. Next, I would say a good combo with her is, I hate to say it, but Belial. I skipped right past her, didn't I? Ooh, see, I don't really ever use her, which is weird why I can't see. Oh, there she is. Belial. So Belial is interesting because the S1, if you notice at +4, she gets a pursuit target +1, and then at +15, she gets a +1 also on that one, and a +1 on the pursuit target. So she's really good when you pair her with Lucy because they can wave clear together pretty fast, including the fact that Belial is going to give your Lucifer a higher HP and increase all the crit damage she's doing. So together, these two units actually go fairly well together, and I would highly recommend, if you want to run both, because not only your Lucy is going to be hitting harder, you're going to have a pretty hard-hitting unit in Belial too. Next, we have Gluttony. We have Beelzebub here. So she's really good because the defense down her S1 naturally allows Lucy to get those hits off harder. You have the move gauge, which is going to push Lucy back up. So let's think of this. Your Lucifer goes, her Consonance triggers, which gives Beels her move gauge all the way up. Beels uses her S2, and Lucy now has 25% move gauge again, and she's still 50% faster. So your Lucy should be going twice before the enemies even get one turn, which is going to really solidify the fact you're going to beat them down. Another great unit to pair with Lucy is Chastity Gabriel, because she is going to, usually you want to aim for higher attack on Gabriel in this case, because it's going to prevent Lucy from being the target of all those debuffs whenever it says unit with the highest attack, because Gab is immune first turn to CC, and as you raise her skill level, she's immune longer and longer. The next unit I would say goes really well is Chino. Chino in her ultimate is going to boost the allies with the highest attack move gauge by 100%, which for the most part is Lucifer. If you're building her and committing to her, she's going to be one of your highest attack units, which is going to help cycle the effects of your passive even more. And then as I was talking about before, Lucifer, Chino has her S2, which is going to reduce the cooldown on your Lucy S2 and your S3, which will help keep up your Fear Nothing passive. Another unit, if you're not trying to build all crit damage or crit on your Lucy, but instead just want to pile on crit damage, you could run Thilla here, because at the start of the battle, she's going to give your highest attack unit a 75% crit rate buff, which is insane. Even at base, you have, as you saw earlier when I showed you, the crit rate we have on Lucy at base here is 30%. You're automatically capping on crit, and the only way you cannot crit is hitting an off-element unit. And if you're doing Super Evo with Lucifer, you most likely have the highest HP with her, so she's going to get that all damage reduction buff just in case they somehow outspeed you, which I don't see happening quite often. There are another one down here. We're going to go over Kabuki Elphys. Elphys is good just because her passive here as the leader buff gives strength type allies plus 18% damage. Another unit is Furka. Furka is going to give you your move gauge up in her S2, a speed up in the S1, and another move gauge up in the S3. So this is going to allow your Lucy to cycle even more, especially if she's the target of the Consonance. Now, Sandolphin is another great unit to run in the party with Lucifer, and that's due because she's a great tank that's going to let you bring your red team in. from a dot heavy area, right? So let's think like Mammon Guild days where there's a bunch of dots. She's going to help cleanse everything and keep everybody alive. And she's also going to help keep the heat off of Lucifer because she's going to be a red also. And because she's going to be a big, I would build her defense, right? Even though she does attack here, attack, I would make sure you're building some defense in her because of the S1, and which would naturally put her HP lower, which should cause the targets to go after her. Keep them off your Lucifer. Next would be General Sandal. General Sandal is going to prevent heals on the enemies. It's going to keep everything from it's going to keep the enemies from healing, but also it's going to reduce their blues attack. So down here, you'll notice it says, when the battle starts, inflicts block heal on 2 strength types and inflict debilitate on 2 agility types. So a big counter to Lucifer is going to be Gabriel. Gabriel, she just hits really hard for a blue, and General Sandal is going to allow you to drop her attack by 35%, which should save you the trouble from getting one shot. And then a last great pick, I would say, would be Faith Michael. Michael here is really, really good, especially for her passive, because it's going to stun 2 enemies at plus 15 right off the bat, which is going to allow your Lucifer not have to worry as much. But your Lucifer S2, right, that's going to stun, is also going to affect Michael, because if the attack damages a target affected by stun, you remove the buffs from all enemies. So your Lucifer goes first, she S2s, she stuns the highest speed. She then, through Consonance, let's say boosts Michael to 100%. Michael then goes second, hits that stun target, and now all the enemies have no buffs. That can be a huge game changer and a really big help to make sure you're ensuring you're winning those matches. Now, a couple sample teams I would say we could build, coming over here to this one. If you want a good move gauge push team, I'm going to say you're going to want Lucifer, Summer Lucifer, because she's going to increase her own. You're going to bring Chino, you're going to bring Michael, and you're going to bring Beals. This is going to allow you to push your move gauge up as much as you want and keep cycling your team over and over again. Now, if you want a heavy hitting composition, I would say you're going to take Lucifer, you're going to take Esmira here, you're going to bring a Summer Lucifer, you're going to bring Gabriel, Chastity Gabriel, and Envy Leviathan. This is going to keep your speed going up through Leviathan here, and it's going to give you the chance of a revive through Esmira, along with being able to make sure you're taking care of those greens, so your blues can also do what they got to do. And the last team I would recommend is a big CC team. It's going to be Lucifer for her stun, Eximus Lucifer for her freezes, you're going to run Faith Michael for the stuns, you're going to run Viola for the confuse, and the stuns you can get from her along with move gauge increase. And last but not least, this one's going to be kind of weird, you're going to run, where is she? Summer Levy. And the reason why you run Summer Levy is because right here, she's going to give all allies a permanent attack bonus. At max, it's plus 20%, which is a huge buff to this whole team. You can freeze with her, you can stun and confuse, 2 stuns, 2 freezes, and a stun. This whole team, if the enemy has no CC immunity, they're getting locked down and they're never getting a turn. That's going to help ensure you win the battles. Now, starting with content, we're going to start with the guild battles. Now, guild battles, every day changes in how it works, but what we're going to do is we're going to start with just the overarching thing. I would say she's great for guild raids that involve multiple units because, her S2 and S3 are going to hit multiple people, and until you get that, once you get the plus 15, I should say, her S1 is really going to put in the work because you're hitting 2 targets, which is going to increase your scores. Now, for Lucifer Day, it's a neutral typing, so you're not going to have to worry about you taking more damage or having a higher chance of getting affected by her passives that the guild boss has. Now, what she does is she's going to strip your buffs whenever she's hitting you, which is a pretty dangerous thing, but the only buff you're really worried about losing on Lucifer is your crit rate buff, which means you do have a chance of just doing less damage, because if you don't have that up, you're not going to crit as much. Now, on Mondays, which is today with Asmo days, this is a pretty hard day. There's multiple targets, so you're going to get the bonus of your S1 hitting multiple if you're plus 15. You're going to get the advantage of just cycling through the first couple turns, getting damage off. But overall, this is a poor matchup because, let's just put it this way. If you get enchanted by Asmo and you bring any other greens to the party, your Lucifer is going to just nuke your own greens, and then you're only hurting yourself, right? Once turn 50 passes, you're basically going to be permanently enchanted from her just going over and over again. So it's very, I would just recommend not bringing Lucifer on these days. Now Wrath is another neutral day, so it's not that bad. Satan here can't really, do too much to you. It says burn, but really you're just getting like an enchant on you, which is crazy, because then you just beat your own units to death again, which can be very annoying. But you really, most part, don't have to worry about that because your innate resistance should keep you from doing that because of the neutral matchup with types. Now, Envy Day, don't bring Lucy here. You're just asking to have a bad day if you bring her here. You're going to get frozen over and over again, and you're never going to get the turn you want to get. Gluttony Day, pretty straightforward. You have advantage for the type. Downside is there's no extra enemies to hit with the S1, so you're not going to get that bonus extra target on your S1. However, I would still say you're pretty good because just bring some defense down units, stuff like that, in order to ensure you're doing the max amount of your damage that you possibly can. Now, Greed Days, you're going to get that dot. Everyone gets the dot, and it slowly will tick away your health. But because you're red and you have the advantage, she's not as likely to land that dot on you. Now, she will be likely to land on it the more turns she gets because her little minions will apply a effect hit up buff to her, which means the longer she's going in the match, the more likely you are to get that dot, which means the more likely you are just to watch your health tick away and the move gauge decrease. It is such a pain. But luckily, like I said, with the first couple turns with Lucy, with her Consonance, you're going to be boosting your team and hopefully getting all the debuffs, slows, and things you need applied right off the bat. And then Sloth Day, this day hurts. Belfie hits like a truck. I don't care what typing you are, she's going to hit you like a truck. Now, Lucifer, this is a great matchup for Lucifer too because even though Belfie sits here and she does attack percent lower, she's still doing attack percent just like all these other ones, which means your S1 is going to save your life by reducing her attack because she hits hard, very hard, and her little minions are going to just make it worse because they're going to keep buffing her defense. So it becomes really hard to zero out her defense to really prevent you from taking all this extra damage. Now, that's how I would say she runs fairly well through all the guild days. For the most part, I would say the best days would bring her would be your Pride, your Wrath, and then your 3 green days, of course. Try to refrain from bringing Lucy on blue days just because you're only hindering yourself. Now, on to the next thing, which is Arena. Limbus. Lucy does really well in Limbus. And when you're considering team comps, right, like talked about before, units that work well with her or just teams that might synergize well, you really got to watch out for units that are going to counteract you. So if I don't bring a CC immunity, coming into this match and fighting, let's say, this Michael here, I'm really running the risk because I could get stunned. Also the fact Serial here is going to speed their entire team up. So you're running the risk that they're going to outspeed you because they're going to do a bunch of shenanigans in the background. He could have Mammon Consonance boosting more. So you really don't fully know, so you got to be careful. I would say pick and choose your fights you know you're going to win. So find someone that you think you're going to be able to win against, click them and fight them. Right now, I don't really think my team's going to just instantly beat any of these players. BDS Sim Serial, hard target to fight. In this case, we're just going to let it auto right off the bat, make sure we're selected on quick match. With this, I want to make sure that I'm getting my freeze, my stun, and then if I want, I can bring Viola for the confuse. And then we hit go, we hit fight, we hit okay, and we see what happens. And we won. The statistics of what probably happened, we can click in and look real quick, is what most likely happened is Viola helped out by confusing on match start one of the enemies, which really helped us out. Either that or we outsped and we got the stun, but we'll click in, we'll find out right now how it all went down. Because Lucy is a great addition to arena comps, but also at the same time has a lot of units that counteract her. So I'd say units she has an advantage against would be a fellow Lucifer. You're going to stun them before they stun you. In that case, their Lucifer is already stunned from the Michaels, so there's not much we can do there. Wrath, her chance-based CC's not going to hit you as easily because, You're red, she's green. Belial, you're going to reduce her healing, which is going to let you kill her because you need to take care of that unit. And Satan, because you're going to reduce her attack so she can't one-shot the team. That is really, I would say, the big advantage units you have it against. Now, disadvantage, don't fight Leviathan without some way of preventing freeze, because you're going to get slowed down for one, and then 2, you're going to get frozen because you have the highest attack. 2, Beals, you don't have CC immunity. You're going to get taunted. You're not going to do your S2, and then wada bing, their team can just annihilate you. Metatron, again, they're going to give their highest unit. Basically, let's put it this way. Units like Metatron, Gabriel, and things like that prevent the CCs you're trying to do. Nana is a good Awaker unit, to example. 1, she's a blue, and 2, she's given the whole team a stun immunity. So your Lucy's S2, not going to stun. Now, Esmira, she doesn't need attack, and she's just going to beat you down with her defense. And you have no way to reduce her defense, so she's just going to keep hitting you really hard. Asmo, you're red, she's going to charm you, you're going to beat the crap out of your team. And Camilla, you're red, your speed's going to get decreased, and you're going to get stoned whenever she does her ultimate. So there's really no... There's nothing good for you there, right? You're just going to automatically lose usually to a CC comp. So if you're not bringing your own CC immunity to protect your Lucy, you're not really setting yourself up for success, I would say. Now, outside of Arena in Grand Coliseum, just set your teams up in the best way you possibly can. Just do it in a way that you see fit here. I have just the same team I'm using my Arena you just saw me use, except for the fact Gunslinger is up here in this one, along with Xmas Lucy. Now, going on to the events and campaign. Campaign, pretty easy and pretty self-explanatory. We can use any of these stages as a quick example, which we will. We're going to click in. We're going to click go. And we're just going to click go here. And what you're going to notice is, for the most part, even on Nightmare, the hardest difficulty at the most current stage, when I hit manual here, Lucy is going to go with her S2. It's going to drop. She's going to chase and do enough damage to really get their health already down. So you're going to meet requirements. Of course, Gunslinger can nuke because that's just how she is. But the big thing here is wanting to make sure early on you're meeting those tier requirements. So as you can see, they're still doing really well together in a higher difficulty dungeon. But where she really shines is for these lower dungeons where you have this clear within 30 turns and stuff. Heck, even hard, because on hard, it's still clear within a very fast amount of turns, right? And it's 24 for the best clear. That can get really hard for some units. But if we look at this, and we bring Lucy, right? Lucifer is going to allow you to clear all these things very, very fast. Once it actually loads in. So she's going to go right off the bat, throw the spear, drop, and then follow up. Now, unluckily, she didn't crit that last one, so they didn't get taken care of. But the next unit in line will take care of them. And then wave 2, you'll see what I was talking about. Lucifer is going to S2, almost take down 2 of them. In that case, it didn't crit the other one again. Just getting bad RNG as we're trying to show it on the video. But for the most part, you're going to see it automatically take care of. And then by the time they get to wave 3, Lucifer, I have animations off, so you're not going to see it right now. But Lucifer is going to ult, take care of them, and then follow up with the S1. Now in this case, again, no crits. We just didn't luck out at all during this one, sadly enough. We'll skip that. Don't want to ruin the story for you. It's actually pretty interesting. I'd recommend going through it. Now, on to the next area, which is dungeons. Your daily dungeons, mind you. Go back, go daily. For trainer dungeons, really simple. Just clear as fast as you can. Get it taken care of. These are pretty straightforward. Just the big thing is going to be like time clear for the waves. Treasure, multi-hit units. Now Lucifer, if you're going to use Lucifer, the only things I recommend you use are really your S1, once you're plus 15, and your S3. Before then, it's going to be kind of hard because you're not hitting as many units as many times as you would like to. Yes, you're spreading your damage out, but you're only doing 1 damage once you use your S2 on across all the enemies, which means pretty hard to meet the turn requirement. You're going to need another unit like Belphegor who hits multiple times. At plus 15, I would say, is when you can really see her start to be used in Gold Dungeon, because That S1 is going to hit multiple enemies, and then she's going to follow up, which is going to allow you to make sure you're getting those turn clears. Because as we know, Gold Dungeon, the hardest thing to get is those turn clears. Now, Rank Up Abyss. Rank Up Abyss is, you hit the enemy with the off element, they're going to heal. So, we don't actually have any tickets here, so what we can do is, as a quick thing to show it, we'll come in here, we'll get this, right? We'll come over here, we'll hit this, we'll hit edit because I can't do it there. So you'll notice on the last floor, they are all greens, which means once you get to this floor, your Lucy's going to shine at getting that turn requirement for 40 turns because they're not going to heal when you hit them. But that turn before, they are blues. So don't worry and don't fret if you're not getting 3 stars on the floor before. I've never gone back to try because once you get the highest clear on this one, you don't need to unless you're trying to get those minor gems. Now, Transcend, same thing. Every time you move, they're going to get move gauge. Lucifer is going to be your fastest. She's going to increase your move gauge, which is going to allow you to at least keep your units going to take care of the enemies, as long as you have her Consonance. Now, I would say Railway to Hell. Railway to Hell's is kind of a hard one, right? So she's going to help out in a lot of stages because she's going to have that speed buff. You're going to get to go first, and you're going to get to do some damage. But keep in mind, floors like this one, they're CC immune on turn 1. So your stun, not going to help you. They're just going to go right through and ignore your stun. And then they're going to, go to town on your team, do their freezes, do their stuns, do their dazes, do all the things that are going to stop you from going. So it's really recommended you probably build a more centralized team and one that actually is more of a gimmicky towards this. You got to make sure you're using the right units per stage. Lucifer can help do like a power push through if you really want to. You can just push through the stage, but I would say you'd have a much easier time not always using her here and just trying to actually build a team around something that can work. And then Starshards, that last stage, trying to get that turn requirement clear, there are a lot of blues here. So if your Lucifer doesn't have the attack built into her, it's going to be pretty hard to clear this floor within the time limit. But once you get plus 15, that changes. Plus 15, you're hitting 2 targets, which means you're doubling every time you hit someone with your S1 instead of 1, you're hitting 2, which is going to help with that clear time. So even now, running a team like this, if I was to, let's say, remove the greens here, right, and we just take in some other reds. We'll take in another move gauge pusher and another move gauge pusher, and we'll just use these 4, right? By going in here and running the Starshards on this floor, you're going to see that Lucifer at near the upper limits of what you can do is able to really carry and push through and take care of the teams and get those wins, right? Even if you're worried about meeting the time requirements. Because turn 1, like I was talking about before, instant turn wipe, didn't have to worry about it. Turn 2, her S1, going to hit 2 targets. It didn't kill the sheep, but that's okay. Because now, if you noticed, my Summer Lucifer got that 35% move gauge. Bam, we win, sheep gets killed, but now Furka goes, losing everybody's move gauge again. Beals goes, which just killed them, so it's kind of a wasted S2. But now Lucifer on the last wave is going to ult and then follow up. Then you notice that ult killed 3 things and she still did damage there. So don't worry about meeting your turn requirements later on when you start getting your units built, because it's going to be quite easy, especially with Lucifer. She's going to make sure and ensure you're always getting the things you need to do. And then as always, we get shards we don't really care for. We'll take the speed shard though. You never know when they might come in handy because we roll stones. Now, coming back, the last thing is Vortex of Torment. I know it's closed, but Lucifer, I would say, is a very good thing to bring in almost all the stages. When you're trying to climb through the blue side and you're facing a lot of blue units, may not be best to bring her at times. But for the most part, she can really help ensure just that quick, clear stun and you win, right? Because a lot of the enemies here do not have that CC immunity right off the bat. So you're going to be able to get that stun, which is going to help your team get the clear requirement in turns. But overall, I would say even in the limited area, bring her along, clear wipe, instantly, over and over again, right? You're not going to have to worry as much because she's going to get that stun off and hit multiple enemies. But as the last thing to say, I would say Lucifer is still to this day, ever since all the updates that have come out now, she's PvE queen. Not many can top her in PvE clear, and it's very rare to see that someone actually top her in her own area. Now Arena, you're in a little bit of a harder position because the constant casts, also known as characters coming out, can conflict with her and cause her trouble in the arena. For example, a lot of CC is just going to lock your Lucifer down if you don't bring some way to immunize that CC. And then I would say the other place I would definitely bring her is your guild raids on days that have multiple units, because as long as she's plus 15, you're getting that extra damage and you're putting out more. And if you plan to bring Summer Lucifer, you really need to bring OG Pride Lucifer, because Summer just needs her to do all that extra damage. And so that's going to conclude the video, guys. Going through everything we have here. If you have any questions, please don't fret to put them down below. I'm also going to include the Discord link in the description so you guys can find your way to the community-made Discord. I don't own it, but it's owned by a lot of the other players that have been around the base and made this. It's a great place to be and a great place to ask questions. You'll also find different guides I've built in that Discord, along with an entire list of what debuffs and buffs certain people do, and a StarShard calculator. I would say that it's been great to have you guys here, and if you think I did anything wrong, again, comment down below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and as a final note, here in a little bit, I would say a few days, for anyone that's actually stuck around and still here to listen to this part, I'm going to be uploading my Google Doc for everybody to let them have access to it. So if, instead of watching the video when you come back to it later, you want to get like a quick tip to it or see if I've changed anything, you can click this Google Doc, go in, and you can go to the exact chapter or part you need, be it that, oh, I want to see what team building he was talking about or what his notes were on this. And it's going to be accessible to everyone, no subscription fee, nothing like that. I'm just going to make it accessible, so if you'd rather not watch the video every time, you can just go reference that. But thank you for watching the video, and have a good day.